My name is Avvennett Gezahan. I'm the Northeast Community Prosecutor for the City of Dallas. So the Community Prosecution team is comprised of one city attorney, one DPD risk detective, a fire inspector, and a code inspector. And what we do is we evaluate properties for substandard code, fire, and criminal actions occurring on the property. A lot of properties that we deal with are commercial structures, being convenience stores, apartment complex that lack criminal or crime prevention measures, and substandard houses. The three biggest issues that community prosecution, especially in District 10 that we're looking at, is the enforcement of commercial amusement, which is the removal of game machines, and the convenience stores, Airbnb properties. That's kind of, I got tasked with that. So if you have those Airbnb properties, and just working with Dallas Police to really do more enforcement on the Skillman Aldelia area, Skillman Athleta area, and those are kind of our biggest tasks right now. We've had several Airbnbs in District 10. And a lot of it is bringing property owners and neighbors to the table together and creating real enforcement measures or real solutions to the problem, whether that's, hey, let's up the curfew on weekdays, or maybe hiring security. That way it frees up DPD, and that way security can go ahead and go in and enforce those the party. It's really maybe pulling the property from an Airbnb site and just doing other like VBROs, or making the rental period longer. So not just 1 day, but 2 to 3 days. That way it has a higher impact if people want to rent that property for financial reasons. Definitely having a communication with the property owner, I think that goes far. And I hate to say it, it's probably one of our best tools in our toolbox. Because technically right now, what we can do is call police and they can come out and they can break up the party, but by the time that call has come in, that's not a priority call for them. So the party is still continuing. So what we want to do is be able to work with the property owners, even the one that has this Airbnb property, and see what good neighbor rules we can establish. Well, I think there's two big issues, and I think one is a little more easier to work with. It's a party house. And the other issue is we just don't want Airbnbs in our neighborhood. And that the latter one is a little harder to enforce, for example, for the same reason, because there's not a specific lane use. But the party house issue is kind of what we are really enforcing at this point. I think people's biggest question is, why isn't it classified commercial? And I think we have to have a basic understanding of what a land use is. So the city ordinance defines a land use by designating a parcel of land and giving it a certain designation, So for example, a parcel of land could be used for commercial purposes, or a single family residence. So right now in the city ordinance, there is no land use for Airbnb. So the best example I always try to give is like a strip club. The land use is for a sexually oriented business. The zoning is for where we can have those types of business. So that's why you'll see a lot of strip clubs in the northwest portion of the city. So therefore, since there is no land use for Airbnbs, there is no zoning for it. So we have to get a land use in place passed by a city council in order to zone it correctly. Right now, City Council has a task force, a short-term rental task force that is handling some of these issues. Hopefully we can see a lot of the fruits of the labor in the new year. But what I would say is, if there are these party houses in your area, please contact me, because I would love to start working on them with you and see what kind of immediate solutions we can bring to the table. Sometimes we have people who are driving these vehicles, they're looking for a resting spot, and they're keeping the engines going all night. So that causes disturbance to the neighbors. I haven't seen it yet, but I know there's some possibility that crime can come with it. And it just, again, it brings down the appeal of the neighborhood. And then it creates this reputation that, trucks can start parking here. So we don't want to build that reputation. We want to break it before it really turns into a bad habit. I think one way to kind of resolve that is really getting parking out there in streets and putting up signs. We don't want those kind of commercial vehicles parking overnight. There is 24-hour parking violations, so that's something that we can enforce on. But I think it's really having those posted signs to let any trucking company know that their people cannot park here, or any trucker know that they cannot park there. Again, documenting is always good. Calling 911 is always a great idea. 311 for enforcement, and referring those to me at the city attorney's office. Thanks to Deputy Mayor Pro Tem Magoo, he helped us push forward on the council's agenda to pass the coin machine or ordinance to remove commercial amusements from convenience stores. Slot machine, so where you can put your dollar or your coin, any kind of monetary value into this machine where you're playing to gamble and you can win. So we have a lot of stores in District 10 that have these commercial amusements in them. And so with that ordinance being passed, we are now going to enforce and have them removed. And if they do not remove them, then we will take it to the next level. So right now what we're going to do in the community prosecution section is going into these commercial properties. If we are seeing these machines there, then we'll ask the owner to remove them, and if they fail to remove them, then we can enforce on that. We see with a lot of these game machines or stores with game machines, the loitering that comes with it, certain assaults or aggravated crimes that come along with it. So it's going to be a big help for our area. Probably those are our three kind of biggest areas that we're focusing on in your area. And what I would just say, if there's any issues or property issues you are having, please feel free to contact me. We always like to evaluate. You know, we get the biggest referrals from our neighbors, from people in our community. So we really want you to know that we're here, we're listening to you. Even if we can't evaluate or it doesn't meet community prosecution standards, we always make sure that those properties are addressed by another city department. So please feel free to make those referrals.